So hello, today I'm making a video that is going to appeal to a very specific demographic. I understand that, but it's a video that I've seen two other people do and I found them very interesting. So yeah, today I'm going to talk about different editions of classics and which one you should buy. So I'm going to talk about a few things. I need you all to remember that I have a table right here because I'm going to show you those books. I need you to remember that all the things I'm going to talk about are going to be presented from my very subjective perspective. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I prefer pages that are white compared to yellow pages, and I thought everyone felt like that, but then I've seen someone's video saying that they prefer yellow pages and I was shocked. But you know, everyone's entitled to their opinion, so I'm going to talk about, you know, white pages as if that's a better option, but you know, buy whatever like works for you best. So I'm going to talk about a few like aspects. So the floppiness of the book, I personally really like, and books are like very floppy and easy to open. The font of the book, the space lining, pages, so like the color of the pages, how thin or thick they are, and other very specific things like about like notes and whether there's an introduction, chronology of like author's life, those kind of things. I will talk about a little bit about the covers too, but you know, whether you like the cover or not is very subjective. But I will talk about kind of the like durability of the cover, if like stands the test of time, you know? Because that's what's important when you're like making a collection of classics. I mean, at least for me. So this video will be divided into 3 parts because there are 3 categories kind of based on the price range. So first we have kind of lower end books that I would consider inexpensive. I have 3 editions here. 2 of those are actually from the same publishing house, and that's Wordworth Classics. I believe this is the older edition and this is the newer one. They are not that different when it comes to the font. I would say they're pretty much the same. But when it comes to the cover, I do believe the older editions are a little bit more durable, because I don't know if you can see, but the cover kind of rubs off or like chips off. Can you see? I hope you can see. But yeah. The spine also breaks easily, and this one, I do like the cover more, but also it just feels more, it feels like it's of a better quality. So let me show you the pages. Okay, so from what I've noticed, the pages in the older editions of Wordworth Classics are more yellow, while these ones are more white. So let me show you. This is the older edition, this is the newer one. The font is pretty much the same. I would say I do prefer the newer editions because I like the contrast between like white pages and, you know, black font, so it's easier for me to read like that, but they're pretty similar. The font is quite small, the spacing is not the best, it's pretty small too, but it's not the worst. So if you compare those two to the Collins Classics, the Collins Classics, they are, if you can see, the Collins Classics are smaller, look at that, and actually the font is even smaller in the Collins Classics. It is tiny, it's really hard to read. So personally, out of those 3, I would choose the Wordworth editions. So let me show you how tiny the font is in the Collins Classics. This is the Collins Classic, and that is the Wordworth Classic. It is really small. So when it comes to the less expensive ones, they are great when you're a student, I'd say, and when you want to like take notes in your book, because for me at least personally, when I have like more expensive book, I feel a little bit more nervous to take notes in it. So when you have those cheap ones, you can do whatever you want with them. So those ones are great for students. Like I said, I would go with Wordworth Classics, the older editions, but both are fine. Okay, now we're in the like medium range price-wise, and that's the range where I have most classics from. I guess let's start with the vintage ones. So I have two. The first one is, you know, very popular one, Vintage Classics with the red spines. I like these. The font is nice, it's easy to read. It does have kind of yellowish pages, but you know, it's fine. The spine can crack. I didn't crack this one, but definitely when it comes to longer books, it is easier to crack this. It's not as easy to crack this spine compared to, for example, the Wordworth Classics, this newer edition, or the Black Penguin Classics. So the spine doesn't crack that easily, but you can definitely crack it. I'd say that those are quite durable, so I like the cover. It's quite sturdy. I will later show you the font. But the thing is, and I've seen that happen with quite a few of those editions, but I don't know if you can see, if the camera will pick it up, but there's kind of like film thingy on the cover that kind of can come off. Oh, can you see? Right here. Yeah, this thing sometimes, I've seen it in like bookshops that sell, you know, used books. That can kind of rub off or come off a little bit, so that's not great, but overall I do like those editions. Let me show you the font here. It's nice and big, it's easy to read compared to the Wordworth Classics. It's bigger, the spacing is bigger. Yeah, it's great. The pages are a little bit more yellow, but I really like it. I also have one book in the collection of like Jane Austen vintage classics, and I have to say, I'm not a huge fan of them. I bought Pride and Prejudice and I wanted to collect either all of them or the ones I enjoy the most, so Pride and Prejudice, Northanger Abbey and Persuasion. But after I bought it, I decided that I don't think I'm going to do it because it is hard to read from this edition. I'm not sure if you can see, but it's really hard to open it. The font is great, but it's hard to read it because it's hard to open. Like, look at it. I like floppy editions because when you open them, they kind of stay like that. But with this one, it just like closes right up. Like, I hate that. So, because of that, it's not as easy to read. Let me show you the font. The font is really nice, but it's really like hard to read, like this part. So, and you have to like really push it down for it to stay like that. Otherwise it will just close right up. Oh, those are my notes, sorry. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of those. They do look nice like on the shelf, but when it comes to like actually reading those, I wouldn't necessarily recommend them. But that's my preference. Then we have an edition that I really like, which is the Wordworth Classics. This is how it looks. The white spine, like a red thingy right here. I'm not a huge fan of the spine, but overall it's a really nice edition. It's floppy, and the greatest thing about this book is that I don't think you can crack the spine. Like, I can do this to the book and nothing happens. Sorry, I keep looking at the viewfinder because it's easier for me to see if you can see anything. So yeah, the font is okay. Let me compare it to the Wordworth Classics. The spacing is not the greatest. Let me show you. Okay, so you have this. See? I don't have to push it down for it to stay like that. Amazing. And then we have the Wordworth Classics. So, the font is similar. I do feel like the font in this one, what is it, Wordworth Classics, is a little bit more bold and therefore easier to read. When it comes to like the sizing, I think it's kind of similar. But for some reason I do find this easier to read. So, another great thing about the Wordworth Classics, please focus on me, is that not only the spine doesn't crack, it is very durable and floppy, but also it has great notes and introduction, and also aside from that, you have a note on the text, you have chronology of the author, of like their life. Here you even have a map of, I guess, London. Yeah, the London of the Odd Woman. So here you have a map. And in the end you have notes, I believe, yeah, explanatory notes. So this, I don't think, let me think about this. I don't think any other edition had those kind of notes. I think they mostly just have... Oh no, the Wordsworth editions have... no, it only has introduction and author's preface. Wait, no, those do have notes. Cool. Okay, so, yeah. Let me check Collins Classics. Okay, so when it comes to the Collins Classics, it has a very short introduction. I wouldn't even call it an introduction. It's like this, like short. This is The Age of Innocence. It says life and times, so it gives you like a little bit of context of when this was written. Yeah, it's literally like 3 pages, so not very long. And you have some notes. Wait, you don't have notes. You have, that's weird, like words and phrases that you wouldn't really, maybe you wouldn't understand because they're not really used in modern times. So that's what you have. You don't really have notes. When it comes to the Wordworth Classics, you do have an introduction and you do have notes. Not very like thorough, but you do have notes. But with this one you have an introduction, notes on the text, like explanatory notes on the text, chronology of the author's life, and no, that's it. So I think those are really great additions when you want a little bit more of like academic notes. I'd say this is the best one. So bottom line, really great cover, durability, you know, floppiness, great notes. So these are really great for students, you know, those who need a little bit more of like academic notes. But the font is not my favorite, it's not super big, but it's not terrible. So I do like those editions. And now let's get to all of the, you were probably wondering about that. Let's get to all of the Penguin classics. I have a few that I would like to talk about. Okay, so I guess let's start with the most famous one, which is, what is it called? The Penguin Orange Spine Classics, the Penguin English Library Classics. Yeah, that's what the title is. I said orange because the spine is a little bit orange. So I really like those editions, I really do. They're floppy, the font is great, really big, the spacing is great, I really like the font itself, let me show you. The spine doesn't really crack, so yeah, this is the font here. Let me compare it to... Okay, so you have the Wordsworth Classics with, you know, this small font, and that's the Penguin in English Library Classics. Really great, I really love it. The paper itself is quite thin, but I personally like it, and it's white, so that's great. I really like the cover. So the only, you know, downside to those editions is that they don't really have notes, and they don't have introductions, I believe. They definitely don't have notes. So if that's something that's important to you, I would go with something different, Wordsworth Classics, or, you know, the Oxford... Oh, Jesus Christ, Oxford Words Classics. But yeah, if you don't really care about notes and, you know, those kind of stuff, I'd say this is great. They're pretty cheap, they're very easy to read, they're floppy. Yeah, the covers are really pretty, they're really pretty next to each other on the shelf. Obviously we have those modern classics with like mint spine. The font is pretty similar, I also like it. The pages are white, they're easy to read. They're kind of floppy. I don't have anything that's like longer when it comes to modern classics in this edition, but I would assume the longer classics would also be kind of floppy. It does have this like cardboard feeling to the cover, which I don't like, so there's that. Do they have notes? Oh, this is a play. This is not the greatest example. Okay, let me show you the introduction. This is how the font looks like, so I would assume this is kind of similar to the Penguin in English Library Classics, so the pages are white. It feels very similar. Also I have the small black classics. I like the paper's like really thick for some reason. I like it. The font is similar to all the other editions of Penguin Classics. It's cheap and it kind of lets you get a taste of like author's writing. So if you're not sure about like, if you like an author, you can just like buy one of his like shorter text in this edition. This is how it looks. Yeah. Nice, big, easy to read. And then you have my favorite edition, which is the Black Penguin Classics. They are floppy, the font is great, it's big, it has nice spacing, it has white pages, so the contrast between the text and the page makes it easy to read for me personally. They have an amazing selection of classics. You can pretty much find anything in this edition, so if you want to collect books in one edition, you can find a lot of classics in this edition in particular. But as you can see, I'm not sure if you can see, but the cover does get easily damaged, so it kind of chips away like this. Yeah, oh, right here, yeah, you can see. And when it comes to like bigger, longer books, the spine can crack with these. So let me show you the front. It's really nice. It's really kind of thick, like bold. So, I don't know, compared to, yet again, and you can see it stays like that. Compared to Wordworth Classics, yeah, it's really nice. Compared to the vintage classics, it's also, I think, a little bigger. I'm not sure, but yeah, I do really like the font. So this is one of my favorites personally, but that being said, recently I bought A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, and I thought I was buying it in this edition, but I mean, I did buy the English black, the Penguin Black Classics, I think it's called, but it's kind of a newer edition, and if you can see, they're a little bit different. So the biggest difference is kind of the font when it comes to the title, and this kind of like line with the penguin kind of sign is different, and the spines look different. I can't tell if you can see anything, but yeah, they're different, and I don't like the newer editions when it comes to the cover. But take all of the things that I'm going to say with a grain of salt. But the new Penguin Black Classics have a lot more notes. So, okay, not only this has an introduction, but it also has like Dickens chronology, so like the chronology of Charles Dickens' life. This one also has a timeline, so like I think it gives you a little bit more of historical context, if I remember correctly. Yeah, but like I said, you should take all of this with a grain of salt, because this book, if I remember correctly, it's about French Revolution, so I feel like you might need a little bit more context to understand this book. But yeah, it also has like further reading, critical studies of A Tale of Two Cities, historical studies on the French Revolution, note on the text. There's a lot, and only then it starts. So the book itself, then you have an appendix, Appendix 1, Appendix 2, Appendix 3, and then you have note on the text at the end. So only this part in the middle is actual text, like actual book, A Tale of Two Cities. All of this is like additional notes. And also this one has illustrations, which I have never encountered with Penguin Black Classics. So if you have this like new edition of Penguin Black Classics, can you tell me if like this is an occurrence in every single new edition, or is it just A Tale of Two Cities? So lastly, we have the third category, which is like more expensive classics. As you can imagine, I don't own a lot of those because I do not have the money to buy those. I would assume the Penguin cloth-bound classics would be in this category, but I don't own any of those. I heard from some people, like quite a few people, that the cover kind of rubs off a little after some time, but yeah, not sure. So I have here, whoops, those are my notes. Here I have the Evermans library classics that I bought used. So this is how it looks with the dust jacket, and this is how it looks. Oh, hello. I bought it in Montreal, actually. This is how it looks without the cover. It's super pretty. Depending on like which time in the history like it was the book was written, it has a different cover. So this is very durable, so great quality. It has nice font and spacing, which I will show you in a second. Ah, it's so pretty. So nice. Look at that. Ah, The pages feel really nice, they're thick and feel like they have a really good quality paper. They have like comprehensive chronology of like author's life and like what was happening in the world, I think. Or is it just an author's life? Let me check. Oh, okay, so we have author's life, historical context and literary context. And that goes on for a few pages, I believe. Yeah. So that's very helpful. Really like that. But the weird thing is, it doesn't have notes. Yeah, it just, the book ends and it doesn't have any notes. Wait, maybe it has like notes at the bottom of the page? Nope. No, it doesn't. So that's weird. But overall, I would recommend it, but it is quite expensive. So it's weird that it doesn't have notes, right? And the last one is, what is it called? Macmillan's Classics? Macmillan Collector's Library. Wait, did I show you the text? No, I didn't. So this is how the text looks. The Evermans Library Classics. It's so nice, the paper is so thick and it has the, what do you call that? The little like ribbon thing. It tells you where you are in the text. Yeah, it feels expensive. And yeah, lastly we have the Macmillan Collector's Library editions. They have really pretty cover underneath. It's like textured. Not sure if you can see that, but it's really pretty. It has gold edges. Yeah, here I have A Few Plays by Oscar Wilde. Oh, look how pretty it is. Yeah, it's really pretty, but it's kind of expensive. And as you can see, like compared to a regular size book, it's super tiny, so it's like a pocket edition. I don't own any like actual novels in this edition, but I have, you know, collection of plays by Oscar Wilde, and I would recommend it. The font is really easy to read, actually. The paper is white, it is like kind of floppy, and yeah, I'm not sure about actual novels, but like compared to, you know, Wordworth Classics, I do find it easy. And they are really pretty. So yeah. All in all, which edition you want to buy depends on what you expect from your book. Like, if you want a pretty cover, if you want it to be easy to read, if like the size of the font is important to you. For me it's very important. I'm blind, I need the font to be big, and like the line spacing, it has to be like nice, and you know, because I have astigmatism, and like sometimes I would read when the font is really small, I would read and I would like I would finish the line and like would get lost in the text and wouldn't be able to tell where I finished reading. Does that make sense? I don't know, but yeah, that's what happens when the font is really small. And also like I get really tired after reading like very small font when I'm reading classic especially. So for me a big font is a very important aspect. To summarize, if you're on a budget, I would go with the Wordworth Classics editions. You can rank them, you can, you know, make notes in them, they're fine. If you can spend a little bit more on your books and you're a student, or you just like having that additional context to your book, I would go with the Oxford Words Classics edition. They're nice, they're durable, they have a lot of notes and like chronology of author's life, they have it all, and I really like them. My personal favorites are the Penguin English Library and the Black Penguin Classics. I just love the Penguin Classics editions. I really like the font. If you have trouble reading small font, I would go for these ones. And also if you like white pages compared to yellow pages. If you want pretty editions, I guess you could go for either of those. But, you know, I don't have strong opinions on those. They're pretty, but they didn't blow me away. I guess that's it. I hope this video is informative. If I said something wrong, please kindly like correct me in the comments. I wish the comment section would be, you know, a nice resource for other people. So if you have some other opinions or your editions look a little bit different than mine, please tell me. Especially tell me if you have the new Black Penguin Classics editions and if they also have a lot more notes in them. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it and see you next video. Bye!